Donald Trump's disastrous trade war with Canada has not only inflicted financial pain and stress on the American people, but it is also causing political anxiety for members of Donald Trump's own party, like Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine. This is a state that shares over 600 miles of border with Canada. Susan Collins called the new Trump tariffs on Canada a mistake. She said this, quote, "I want us to go back to the very friendly, economically beneficial relationship that we have with our Canadian neighbors." Ask Canadians, and going back to that formerly friendly relationship feels like, I don't know, a distant possibility. Take a listen to what people in Toronto told my colleague Alex Tabbitt.
What do you make of this trade war right now?
I'm fully behind what Carney's done. The U.S.
Vice President Vance called Canada a state recently. He said it was a Freudian slip, but this isn't the first time that an American leader has called Canada a 51st state. What do you make of that sort of rhetoric?
I think they should shove it right where it belongs. I like Canada. Canada's Canada. It's been that way all the time. It's been a free country. I know we have some problems in our country, but poor states, we got health care. They look after us, and it's fun being up here. Go down there, what do you get? Nothing. You got to pay for everything. How's that happen? Trump's so worried about trade for Canada. Why didn't he look after his own people? Get smart. Look at us. You get sick, you go to the hospital. You got to come out with a $30,000 bill?
What do you make of this threat about the lake?
I think he should jump in it. Put himself right to the bottom where he belongs. He can't just turn around and take something from Canada.
He's recently threatened to rename Lake Ontario Lake America. What do you make of that threat?
So I think there's also talk about renaming Lake Michigan Lake Epstein.
Sick burn by the Canadians. It is actually the nicest people in the world, Cornell and Charlie, who are back with me, dropping F-bombs and saying things like, I think they should shove it right where it belongs. Only Donald Trump could get Canadians to talk like this. And Cornell, this is like more than a year now into the intentional trade war with Canada, intentional, that Donald Trump has said, and he has yet to explain how any of this benefits any of us economically. I hate to ask, but what is the argument you think they're trying to make for angering our neighbors and driving up prices?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. It's funny because I was talking to a Republican colleague of mine this morning who has races up around the Great Lakes, and they're really annoyed because this comes at the absolute wrong time. You
Right.
know where this trade war reverberates particularly problematic? Maine, Michigan, Iowa,
Ohio.
North Carolina,
Yeah.
Alaska. What do those things have in common? They have Senate races that are toss up and gone from lean Republican to toss up or lean Democrat. And again, this is part and parcel of it. Look, you have a national wind that is blowing against Republicans already. And Donald Trump with this trade war is just making it worse in those states where Republicans, if they're going to hold on to it, this is why the Senate is, quite frankly, now in play, because of Donald Trump and policies like this and Americans turning against these policies. I have no idea what this trade war is about, because it certainly doesn't benefit Americans. Prices aren't getting lower because of Donald Trump and his tariffs and his trade war. Manufacturing jobs aren't coming back, and we're not growing the economy. So I'm like the rest of Americans asking, why does he keep doing this? Why does he keep putting these tariffs and these trade wars on at these times where we're already hurting economically, and this is not happening? And the problem is, all those Republicans running in those states now have to answer that question.
If I'm not mistaken, I think, like you said, Michigan, Ohio, and Maine are the three biggest trading partners in terms of U.S. states, or three of the biggest with Canada, and all of those seats are potentially up for grabs, Charlie. And it's not just there. Yes. There's Republican senators, Senate candidates. They have begun they are slinking away from Donald Trump on the tariff war. Ashley Hinson, by the way, running for Senate in Iowa, called the beef tariffs that Trump is looking to impose, I think she said it was quote, a bad idea. Is this an issue that you can see more Republicans trying to get elected, in November, breaking away from Donald Trump on?
Well, they would love to, right? If Donald Trump would let them break away from him. This is part of the problem of being in Donald Trump's political party, that it's very, very difficult to show any independence. And look, I mean, we just step back for a moment, because, Jacob, I think you're old enough to remember when going to war with Canada, blaming Canada was a bit on South Park, right?
South Park, exactly.
These are the nicest people in the world. Nobody wants to blame Canada. No one wants to go to war with Canada, and yet here we are in this, and the economic fallout's going to be considerable, but also just think about more than a century of trust and relationships with our nearest neighbor squandered for no reason whatsoever, except for Donald Trump's fragile ego and his peak that Canada has not bent the knee. That Canada will not simply roll over, because the Mark Carney has been one of the most forceful leaders in saying we need to adjust to a world in which we can no longer rely upon or trust the United States of America. And so this is a black eye for Americans, and it's just tragic. I've done so many interviews with people in Canada where I start off by saying, just so you know, literally no one I've ever met is mad at Canada. No one hates Canada or thinks that Canada is an enemy. And watching the White House right now, and people in the right-wing media try to cast Canada as somehow a proxy of Red China or somehow a hostile force or freeloaders, that's just not going to land, because they're Canadians, right? We know them.